enough of the,
Started
I
recording.
guess I better sign in.
Well, that's not us, that's Ted.
I was back in my woods the other day and saw that I have a hemlock that did not have the adelgid that was probably 75 years old and just snapped off about 15 feet off the ground in the winds. Perfectly
That
healthy
wind was
hemlock.
nasty.
It could have been perfectly, though, wouldn't have snapped off.
Did you have a lot of other ones around that?
Yeah, it's in
Maybe
like
you
a
should,
hemlock stand.
maybe they could still get the genes from it or whatever it is, the DNA or whatever.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
It's called lingering
you want the
hemlock.
brittle.
I actually don't know about that. I know
Right.
about, are you talking about lingering hemlock or like the hemlock that don't succumb to the adelgid?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Lingering hemlock, and if you find one like that, where all the rest are dead and that one's healthy, they
Well,
want
none of the ones,
they want to look at it,
I think none of the ones in that stand are dead. I don't know.
then that doesn't count
I don't
yet.
know that the adelgid has gotten to that stand.
They're not that bad yet.
Yeah, there's only about 30 of them back there, in that spot.
It's really, what the hell? Hello, computer,
You ready
try this
yet?
again. I don't need to be on for you to go ahead and do it.
Okay, let me,
I'll get on and then you can let me in.
okay,
Greg,
hey, I have to try meeting agent, no, I don't think so.
are you okay?
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, somebody at work has got COVID.
Oh, great.
Great, yeah. Our first action, before we do anything else, is to I make a motion that we appoint Blake Savoy to be minute taker in his
Okay.
capacity as deputy town clerk.
I thought if,
I'll second
if
that.
the, town clerk, was responsible and if they had found somebody that was all you need.
Well, as Blake explained, it's not so simple, but
Oh, it's not so
the
simple.
simplest thing is simply to appoint him to be a
Okay.
minute taker.
Works for me.
Any other discussion?
Oh,
You
was
want
it
Blake to
seconded?
explain why that's the case?
Was it seconded? I
Yeah,
didn't-
I did.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Leslie, you second?
Yeah.
So now you get to call the roll.
Yes. Didn't bring the sticky note.
Uh-oh,
Um,
Connors.
yes.
Yes.
Connors. Yes, Hunter,
Yes.
Stein,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon.
Yes,
Very good.
all right. So with that, let's call the public hearing to order. There's a public hearing on the potential passage of a bill or a local law that would adopt property tax law, section 467J, which provides for a restricted sale price exemption for housing trust houses. Is there anyone who'd like to address the board on this subject?
Yeah, I'll say something,
Go
if
ahead,
I may.
sure.
I think that everything we can do these days and what's going on in the world to make housing easier for people is important.
Anybody else like to comment? Seeing anybody, so let's close the public hearing. And move on to call the regular meeting to order. Well, there are several possible additions. I've listed them. You may not have them all depending on when you last looked at the agenda. The three that I have are to review and approve the CDBG multifamily rehab property, which is ready for approval.
Hmm.
The possible interim appointment to the Water Advisory Committee and possibly replacing the attic heat detectors, which can go at the end of business. That's okay. Anything else to add or subtract?
Mm, mm.
If not, privilege of the floor. Is anyone who'd like to address the board? Aha. I'm not sure who jumped first, pretty quick there. Ted always likes to go last,
Yeah,
some reason. Rhonda,
I know.
Good evening, everybody. In reference, I have two things that I want to bring up. In reference to E360 and our town laws, my remembering of the decision on that was that the town board voted to spend the money to convert the town laws to E360. And if I'm wrong, please correct me, but otherwise, I would like an update on what the situation is with that. That's the first thing. The second thing is that about at least 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I sent the town board a letter or an email indicating that I had talked to the woman at the New York State DOT who had come out and driven the roads in Danby, and that I had talked to her about South Danby Road, and she said, well, have the town send me the appropriate documentation and we can get to South Danby Road right away. And I sent you an email to that effect, and I haven't heard from anybody in that she has been sent the appropriate documentation. So I would like to ask you to do that as soon as possible. And
talking
that's
about
it.
speed here or something else?
Thank you.
Rhonda, was that about speed limit or something
Yeah,
else?
speed limit.
Speed limit? Okay. I'm not sure what the status of the codification, except it is in process.
Yeah,
Because I had talked to her for about 45 minutes and she was taking notes, she wanted to get to South Danby Road right away so that she could use my notes to look at various things. And I wanted to make sure that the town was actually sending her the appropriate documentation.
Ted?
Hi, thanks. I don't have much to say, so I will use a little time to answer Joel's semi-question. I prefer to speak last because there's a limited amount of information about issues that might need speaking about. And I prefer to have as much information as possible, and I consider the things that other people to say to be important information. There is an advantage in going last. Second item, I don't see any mention on the agenda, or you didn't add anything to it about the letter that you received from the Danby Community and Park as requested at your last meeting. I'd like you to acknowledge, I hope that you'll acknowledge that you've received it and discuss the issues on it. There aren't any issues really, just get the contract signed. And third, I'm a little on thin ice when I say this, but the authority to appoint to have a secretary for the meeting lies completely in New York state law in the clerk's hands. The town neither has any authority to do that, nor should it really get itself involved in that. That's different from the planning board, Joel, which you're used to, where the planning board actually owns the minutes of its own meetings and has considerable flexibility. The clerk owns the minutes, and whoever the clerk asks to do it needs no more authorization. So with that, I'm looking forward to listening to the meeting. Thank you.
Well, in as much as the clerk's desire is coincident with the board's appointment, I don't think there's any problem.
My point was that it was unnecessary and possibly inappropriate for you to mix into it. The clerk owns those minutes, not you.
This is true. That's not the point of having done it.
Did you? I
So
don't
it is-
remember seeing any letter from the park.
Well, there was an email from Amanda, which I think yesterday.
I didn't see it.
Well, it's because I didn't share it.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't sent to the whole board evidently. It was, I sent Amanda, and I think I did copy the board on it. A request to, we need to get the contract together for the park. Since we have a new organization, Danby Community and Park, the contract needs to be reworked. And I don't expect a whole lot of difference, except that anything that the Danby Community Council used to do for the town could be incorporated from their contracts from days of yore into a new thing. And what I was fishing for was language that would acknowledge what we were told at the meeting when the two groups were consolidated, indicating that which the DCC used to do would now be done by Danby Community and Park. So to the extent that that's something that we, the town, are supporting, it should be in the contract. So I asked Amanda if she had the time and inclination to look at the two and put them together into one. I was going to, since I didn't hear back from her, Ted, ask if you could do it. Because I have been kind of pressed for breaking out the top.
Actually, I offered to do it. You didn't ask. And just to correct the record, it is the same organization. The merger simply incorporated one organization into the other, and it is the same organization legally. It's just it has changed its name to reflect the incorporation. So in fact, the existing contract is fine. And contains no changes. As to your specific question, I believe the letter that you were sent was very clear on that issue.
Okay, let's just go on.
Yeah, go on.
Right. Okay. There's been lots of emails.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really correspond.
Right.
We were to the announcements. We got the grant for the beautification, which, we got like the day after our last meeting. So this was, although it's appeared in the newsletter, this is the first mention of it at a board meeting. Now we just have to get people to help out to get it done. The grant pays for materials, but it doesn't pay for labor.
Right.
So there's quite a bit of labor going to be needed to do that which we said we were going to do.
Yeah.
Let's see. We've got the town clerk's report. We got the code officer's report. There seems to be a bunch of emergency generators being installed for some reason.
Yeah, I know, I saw that.
Did you notice that?
Yeah.
In the code officer's
Code.
report, there's
Everybody's buying
everybody
generators.
putting in emergency generators.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I wonder why, indeed.
We had to, you have to let me back in, I think.
Oh,
I pushed the wrong
oops.
thing.
Oh, yeah, see, waiting room 1. I guess. Did I just let you in?
Okay,
Mhm.
thanks. Now I can put closed captions on so I can hear you.
Oh.
Ah,
Where were we? And then there's the fire alarm report, which may prompt some action. In the additions. It seems that our heat detecting alarms in the attic are obsolete. We have minutes for the March 17th and March 24th meetings.
I move that we approve the March 17th meeting minutes as written. Second.
Any discussion?
Connors.
Yes.
Hunter,
yes.
It's like, why?
Yes.
Woodworth.
Yes.
Gagnon.
Yes.
I move that we approve the March 24th meeting minutes as written. Second.
Right?
Connors,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes.
Stein,
Yes.
Woodward,
Yes.
Yes.
Hunter.
Which brings us to the abstract.
Oh, I'll move the general fund abstract vouchers 127 through 146 for $14,055.34.
Second.
Connors?
Yes,
Hunter?
Yep.
Stein?
Abstain.
Woodworth?
Yes.
And Gagnon,
Yes.
right?
I'll move the highway fund abstract vouchers 52 through 63
No.
for $27,631.42.
63.
I got through 59.
I know, it's
Is it-
63,
It's 63.
yeah, I assume it's just a
But the
typo.
total is the same.
It's a typo, yeah.
Is there a second?
Second.
Connors?
Yes,
Hunter?
Yes.
Stein?
Abstain.
Yes.
Gagnon?
Yes. For the record, Blake, I should wait until I call the vote, just in case anybody has questions.
oh, wow, yeah, we jump in.
Yeah, we did.
Fill in. I move the water fund abstract vouchers 52 through 56 for $6,006.33.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes,
Hunter?
Yes.
Stein?
Abstain.
Yes.
Gagnon?
Yes.
Right.
Out of curiosity, why?
Sorry to leave that to you guys. Pat called me and helped me work through how to do those, and then I didn't put enough time in to actually look at all of it, so.
Takes a while.
I won't leave you guys
Takes a
hanging
while.
next time, I promise. I know that's the most fun thing that we do, so.
it really is.
Yes, right, yes.
It really is.
It mostly happens behind the scenes. Okay, on to business. The recent water main break in the water district brought to light the utility of the siren system that this county has in place for emergency notification.
Oh, yeah,
And we had a discussion about, well, we discovered in the course of that you can have one or more administrators for the town that would allow us to host, basically. And if we can carve out a subset of people within the town, we can target the announcements to those people instead of having broadcast wholesale. We didn't have anybody designated in the town when this incident occurred. And so I got a message from Jeff Dunn, who's with emergency operations, saying, because I think Scott called him and asked if he could put a siren note out, and he said, not supposed to do this, but we'll do it anyway. But it went out to everybody in the county. So I was getting calls from,
Wow.
people calling from all, Lansing and asking if the water's okay now. So the upshot was that we can have local administrators. There's a course that you take in order to become, proficient at it.
right,
We talked about it in staff meeting, and there are 3 people in the town who are interested and willing to become siren administrators. The town clerk, the highway superintendent, and the water system operator, Scott. So I move that we designate those 3 our town siren administrators.
is there any way at all, well, I mean, I know it's not technically town, but is there any, does the fire department already have somebody?
Probably,
Okay,
yeah, and we wouldn't be able to tell them anyway.
huh?
So we wouldn't be able to, set them up that way anyway, I don't think. I think, in other words, they could do their own thing.
All right, yeah,
Did you say it was the town clerk, the highway supervisor, and somebody else?
The water system operator, the chief operator, Scott went.
did you just move that?
I moved it.
I'll second it.
Any discussion about that?
I think it's a great idea.
Mhm.
Yeah,
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 I get siren things all the time, so I got, because I'm on 2, somehow I got it twice.
yeah.
But
I think,
There's no fire. I've never gotten a fire thing.
Yeah.
Only,
Yeah.
I
don't
think
know.
Mariah has already done the
Something different.
training. She said it's a pretty meaningful training. It takes several hours to do.
yeah. It's really helpful.
All right. Connors,
Yes,
Hunter,
Yes.
Stein,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gay.
Yes. All right, secret review. We don't have Greg with us.
Yeah.
I was hiding in the back there. I didn't see you through.
I'm sorry.
You wanna come forward and within earshot, Craig? It's on my computer and I reviewed it this afternoon.
You can just share the secret thing up there, or we should just, I can get it.
Well,
Want me to?
do we need to?
I don't know, that a billion pages that I didn't
Yeah.
print.
Yeah, I didn't print it out. I mean, well, especially since like it is like
There you
only the
go.
first 3 pages has anything filled out, but.
Yeah, everything's filled out, right?
I didn't have any questions.
I didn't either.
Do we-
Sorry.
Do we have a map of where these flood designations are on SharePoint?
Probably not.
Not sure, but we just got the maps.
We just got the paper maps and the,
We have them electronically.
I just downloaded them last week and we got the paper ones. So I can certainly make a map. We can also, maybe I can share, if you want to just generally see where they are.
Sure.
Follow the creek, basically. Because we're at the headwaters, we're not very flood prone.
Can you let me in, Joel?
Do I need to authorize you to share?
Maybe, let me see.
Once again, the simplest way to do that is to make them a co-host.
Yes, I understand.
So, okay, I'll just kind of,
Full EAF.
so. Where we are, now this is not gonna show, this is FEMA's website, so it's not gonna necessarily show municipal boundaries, but just to orient everyone, so City of Ithaca, Cuba Lake, right over
Mhm.
here, so let's go south. And it's this blue hashed area, and so following Buttermilk Creek, so here's Fieldstone Circle, just as a point of reference,
Mhm.
this is 96B. Through here, past White Hawk. And this would be Gunderman Road right here. So it's going to affect some of these properties. Here's the town hall, so it's on the town hall's property as well, right back here.
Back here.
And then it goes up to Jennings Pond, so crossing Bald Hill Road and then up to Jennings Pond. And then additionally,
Is that a little bit of swamp area, right?
yep, so then, this area is all draining north, and then this area is all draining south over here. Oops.
Kind of amazing.
Can you come in?
Yeah, we straddled.
So then running down, over Steam Mill Road and down,
It's Michigan Creek, right?
yep. And following along, and it does kind of run up partially adjacent to
Michigan
South Danby Road.
Yes, South Danby?
Yep,
Where's Michigan Hollow? Is that It doesn't
Michigan
run
Hollow's
up
up
there?
here.
It doesn't run up Michigan Hollow?
It,
Huh,
well, it'll go in the back, yeah, towards, I'd say the back, I guess, what does that mean? It, going down Michigan Hollow, it'll be, along that huge wetland.
yeah.
Fortunately, there are no, I don't think there are any houses actually in the floodplain. I mean, they're like right up against it practically.
I thought there was one corner of one foundation for that barn.
Well,
That might be the barn that's falling down right now.
Yeah, that barn is entirely within the floodplain, yes.
Which
So,
one?
The one right.
right here, so this is the highway property right here.
Oh, that one, you mean the one that's on the highway property?
Oh, I thought we were talking, I was talking
Oh.
about the one up on, up there north of the town hall. The one with the, with.
The rose?
Yes,
The Rose Barn?
Rose.
Oh,
And I
Sort of
think,
makes
I think
sense.
it's, well,
Like, I mean, the
it's
creek
behind
runs
it,
right
but I don't,
behind
I
it.
think the
Yeah.
barn itself is on high enough ground that it's not.
it
There-
might be.
No, look at
Right there.
half of it,
Yeah,
the bottom half.
yeah,
Oh, well, at least so. Huh.
That was the only thing I remember when I looked at the map from FEMA.
mm-hmm.
Now that we have this map up, I am curious, it hasn't been brought up before, but is it, with this new law coming up and these new maps, is it worth it to send a notification out to every affected property owner about this new law
They should have already gotten something
from,
Last fall.
from them, from. They
From
got last
FEMA?
fall?
There was a thing downtown.
Yeah, at the
uh,
high school.
for people to
Or
go
somewhere.
and see.
People were supposed to be notified, property owners.
It was quite a while ago.
I know,
Like,
I'm
when
gonna
was
say like
that?
2 years ago.
No, it wasn't that long, but
No, but it was,
The
no,
FEMA
it's
Cause I
over
tried
a
to
year
get
ago.
into a
the
meeting.
FEMA map.
The first round.
Oh,
was-
wait, you're right, because
It
Greg,
was a
I
while
mean,
ago.
David was talking about his
Yeah.
house and the insurance, you're right, was, oh my God, I can't believe it's that long already.
I know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
so no
I don't
notification,
think,
no
in as
direct-
much as there are no houses at risk, only, partial property.
It impacted people's insurance though, right? I mean, they have
Only if their house is
right,
in the floodplain.
just the house? I mean, what if their whole backyard is in it?
No,
No
it's
big
just-
deal?
it's just structures.
So looks like the
I
road.
mean,
barn is-
if your garden flood is not going to be a catastrophe.
No, but we have,
There is a property on there. But it shows the entire backyard in the floodplain and I've seen this house. So that means the bottom floor of the house is within the floodplain, correct?
I
Not
don't-
necessarily.
I'm
Which
not
road-
sure.
which road?
The cellar might be, basement level.
If it's a,
Yeah,
Living
if it's
space
got one, yeah.
on both.
Yeah, I guess I'm just asking the question if even if just people's, I know some people, when they know that even a part of their property is in the floodplain, they might want to know, what does that mean if, what if they want, they come, if they're
Right.
trying to put up some sort of structure in their yard and then they come to the code office and find out that it's in floodplain, it's gonna, it's
Yeah.
not practical or.
Well, and the fact that nobody showed up at the hearing,
yeah,
to
do I
me,
get a bunch of sandbags?
substantiates, but people have previously been notified and had an opportunity to
it was a
comment.
big deal.
Yeah.
They made a
was a-
huge, big deal. And I thought there was a listing of all the property owners.
Yes, there was.
And then they had a number of different places. Cause I tried to get into
think
one
it
of
was
the
like- it was
meetings,
like
Brown
two
Road,
opportunities.
maybe the health department, they had a thing. And somewhere else. But
All right. Well,
So on
I'm
to
hearing
the,
now. Do you want to see, so?
But
would
it
you like-
doesn't mean that we could like reach out to people.
well, I mean, if there were anybody whose house was at risk, I mean, I would definitely think, they should be notified, but none of them are.
Okay.
Mhm.
So would you like to see for the environmental quality review, what would you like to see?
Well,
On the
you could run through the FEAF,
Okay,
which won't take long because You know, get more than about 3 pages into it, the rest is
Yeah,
irrelevant.
most of it's not that.
All right, so
This
just
is-
the
this-
part one,
Yeah.
Full
Well,
environmental
part two
assessment.
too, but it doesn't take long.
yeah, so I'll start with part one.
Yeah,
So we're adopting a local law for flood damage prevention based on newly updated flood insurance rate maps. And because it's a local law, this 13-page document only has to have a couple of bits and pieces of information in it. But the town board of the town of Danby, oops, maybe I could, I can edit that. Is one of the only, well, it's the authority to approve a
Right.
local law.
us and
Um,
FEMA.
I did add FEMA, yep,
Mhm.
in here.
And I noticed you picked the effective date for the maps as the effective date for the local law as well.
Yeah. So these are just saying that no, it's not within a coastal area, the town doesn't have a local water revitalization program, or the town is not within a coastal erosion hazard area. Will the administrative or legislative adoption or amendment of a plan, local law, ordinance, rule, or regulation be the only approvals? Yes.
Mhm.
So then we look at part C, F, and G. So on to C, do any municipally adopted comprehensive land use plans include the site where the action is located? Yes.
Says townwide.
Yep. Does the comprehensive plan include specific recommendations for the site for the town where the proposed action is located? Yes, the comprehensive plan does talk about floodplain. Is the site of the proposed action within any local or regional special planning districts? I saw watershed management plan and thought of the Cayuga Lake TMDL, which stands for total maximum daily load. And is the proposed action located wholly or partially within an area listed in an adopted municipal open space plan or adopted municipal farmland protection plan?
You have one.
Moving on, zoning, yes, there's zoning, all townwide. This is kind of an NA question, is the use permitted or allowed? It doesn't really apply here, it's a local law.
There's a lot of things it doesn't.
Is a zoning change requested as part of this proposed action? No. And then last part here is that in what school district?
You're missing Newfield.
Newfield, you know, today I mentioned Newfield School District and I'm surprised I missed it here, so I'll
Yeah.
change that here. Let me go to my main file. So I'll make sure to update that, we'll add it to the file, but
That was the one thing I noticed when I looked at the local.
yeah. County Sheriff, Fire Protection, Danby and West Danby Fire Protection Districts. Sorry, I just want to pull up my main document so I can make notes on the way out.
It's only one district.
Here's what I'm gonna do, actually.
It's the Danby Fire District. It's got 2 departments within it.
Okay. All right, you know what I'll do? I'm gonna just stop sharing this because I'm gonna make edits in real time.
Yeah.
So,
If
Because I
that's on
can't,
Do we have
SharePoint,
anybody?
can't you just edit it right on SharePoint and have it instantly update?
didn't,
Not what he was doing.
Okay.
Do we have anybody going to Caroline School?
Caroline's part of
That's
Ithaca.
part of Ithaca City
Yeah,
School
it's
District.
like
Oh, it is.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where I went,
That's kind of weird. Yeah.
my alma mater.
Well, yeah, it's kind of weird. That we're the only town in the county that doesn't have a school.
Right,
Yeah, how about that?
in the post office.
Right. You know it, right.
What parks serve the project site? Dotson Park, Jennings Pond, Lindsay, Parson Bow, Diversity Preserve, even though it's not, I guess,
That's not
technically a
really
park,
but
but. um,
it's a, but then there are other places. I mean, if you're gonna mention that one, you use the Lick Brook Preserve
Should I just remove that just so we keep it in the parks?
and I think so.
Probably better.
And then we move on to C, F. Let's see, so none of these get filled out because it's a local law.
Right. I think the remaining, 7 pages or something, it's all
Yeah, we
blank.
rarely do long forms, so I'm not as used to this one as, yeah, I think it's just the end, so then we just sign it. Okay, so then Joel, I have paper copy in my office that I can have
Okay.
you sign.
So
So
that's the
part one.
part one.
Yeah, let me get to part two. So on part two, it's also pretty straightforward. This is, this law is intended to be an enhancement for the environment to keep structures out of the floodplain, or at least just provide a little more regulation to them. So there's only one area where I checked that there might be smaller minor impact, but so this is the part, and Tyler, I know that you're maybe familiar with the seeker process. Okay, so I'd be happy to, if you want to ever give me a call, or I could talk to you more about kind of this. This is a state required process that.
Greg, can you just say what the word means?
Yeah, state environmental quality review.
Right.
And so it puts local communities on notice for things called actions, and certain actions need to go through this process. Certain actions are exempt from the process, and an action there's a huge list of things. Maybe it'd be helpful if I just send you a list of,
Sure.
here's things that are exempt,
Mhm.
here's things that are not exempt.
It only
great.
applies, it only applies when there's discretion. So if
That's a good
something is
point.
non-discretionary, if it's ministerial, secret doesn't apply. So if it's a board action, the planning board, BZA, town board,
Yep.
then secret applies.
Yes, so like pulling a building permit to build something might not require it, but if a board is involved. So that part one that we just went over, that's where the whoever's making the application fills it out. In this case, it's the town making the application to itself in a way. So I filled it out, and then this part two is what the reviewing agency being the town board would fill out. You might not have been appointed yet when the town board declared itself lead agency, meaning that they said, we're going to be the lead on reviewing this document, which is
I recall that,
okay,
right around the time.
okay.
Right.
So, I filled this out, and then the town board will see if they agree. So impact on land, I put no.
So here, there's the sort of peculiarity of it, and in as much as you're asking, does the law have an impact? Passing the law,
Yeah.
Right,
It's kind of fun.
it's a kind of a peculiar thing, because of course, passing the law doesn't have any impact on anything.
right. And so the only one that I said yes to was impact on flooding.
Yeah.
Let's see.
This will prevent floods.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
impact
So,
on
you know,
flooding. So the proposed action adopting this law may result in development on land subject to flooding. The reason why I said yes is that the floodplains have changed since the 80s when the last maps were around. So I'm saying yes. I could probably just say no, but I'm saying yes because there might now be areas that are flooded that are considered floodplain that weren't before, and so certain development might be within those floodplains, or people. I think it could go either way.
Yeah, well, passing the law doesn't preclude development in floodplain, it just makes it
Right.
expensive and difficult.
Right. So
You
I
have
just
to anchor everything.
Well, and you have to raise it up,
You have to anchor your tanks, you have to anchor.
yeah, and if you're doing a structure somebody's gonna live in, they have to elevate the floor above the floodplain, so it doesn't get, you can watch, you could be flooded all around you, but not get wet, yeah.
so everything else is a no. Impact on air, plants and animals.
There was a section there about if there's a dam in the floodplain, is it in need of repair? Didn't we just get an email saying that our dam is in need of repair?
Jennings Pond.
Yeah, Jennings
That's,
Pond Dam.
that's a state park thing, and that has happened, we've gotten those notices before about that. dam.
It's a multi-year process, we've been going through a review with that one.
Yeah,
And they're just acknowledging again that, yep, it needs fixing, but it hasn't been fixed
Yeah.
yet.
Well, the F there under 5 says If there's a dam located on the site of the proposed action, is the dam in need of repair or upgrade? Would we say no or?
We'd say yes,
We could say yes for that one.
right?
But
Where's that?
what's the proposed action?
Adopting the law.
Okay. so
Yes.
that is
Yeah.
right. The law doesn't.
The law doesn't affect whether the dam get fixed or not, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's a.
And whether we adopt the law or not, they're not gonna change the status of the
Right.
dam.
Right,
It seems almost strange that it would be our responsibility to repair a dam on state park land.
It's not our responsibility.
It's not.
It's State
Okay.
parks responsibility.
Right.
okay, so the rest are impact on plants and animals, agricultural resources, aesthetic resources, historic and archaeological, open space and recreation, critical environmental areas
Which we have none, so.
for now.
Mhm. Yeah.
Impact on transportation and energy, noise, odor, and light. If you come to planning board meetings, Tyler, which I encourage you to, just to see how it works, you'll see the board goes through these a lot, but not necessarily this. This is called the long form, and there's the short form. Usually they review the short form, but you can make it a taste of or to see that sometimes it doesn't quite work for what's being proposed or where this process can really help to kind of open up the board's eyes to look at something a little bit more critically.
It's supposed to just be sort of a guided tour through potential impacts and see, think about this. Because then if you identify something that's with an impact, the question then follows, well, can you mitigate it? Can the project be changed in some way that would reduce the impact?
Nice checklist.
Mhm.
Yep, and
And as part of the process, if you identify something that's a significant impact, that triggers an environmental impact statement, which is a much more elaborate review process and is costly. So developers invariably try to avoid a positive declaration of environmental impact. So instead of just subjecting yourself to the review and going through the list and then having something highlighted as with a red flag, they'll try to anticipate something and then mitigate it, prophylactically so that it can get a negative declaration.
Sounds great.
so then after part 2 is done, then the reviewing agency will sort of make the determination, is this going to have a positive, or it's called a positive declaration or a negative declaration in terms of environmental significance. I put down that the adoption of the local law will reduce flood risk and is beneficial to the environment.
Mhm.
Actually, I just sort of took those exact words from the DEC
Yeah.
when
And
they
then you
when they
prepared the
suggested that.
resolution that
Right,
did
correct.
the negative
Yep.
declaration.
So do you want me to put that on the screen or do you have it in front of you?
I don't have it in front of me, Steve.
Okay.
Put it up for the sake of the ease of moving and seconding it.
Zoom into this.
Well, I move this resolution.
I'll second that.
Several whereases. But the bottom line being resolved that the town board, based on careful consideration of the materials, which we just reviewed, determines the adoption of the 2025 flood damage prevention law will result in no significant impact on the environment and in a negative declaration for purposes of Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law be filed in accordance with provisions of Part 617 of the State Environmental Quality Review Act. there a second? Leslie seconded. Any discussion?
No discussion?
No? Okay.
Thomas?
Yes.
Yes.
Stein?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes,
Yay,
Yes. Oh,
thank you.
Thank you.
so so now we've completed the,
cute one. I'm missing it.
now we've completed the environmental review. Would you like to set a public hearing date for the local law?
First meeting in next month.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, because then
Yeah.
we can put notice in the newsletter.
Yeah.
So you want to make that a motion?
Sure.
I move that we have a public hearing, the first meeting in, what's this month?
It would be May,
Oh, May, first meeting in May.
which is May 5th.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Thomas?
Yes.
Yes.
Stein?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes,
Yay.
Yes. Now, I don't know that it had to do this, but it's been customary to have the board approve the contract with the various community organizations before I sign them.
Yeah.
Even though you give me blanket authorization to sign contracts at the organizational meeting, I think I kind of like to have the board review and agree.
I move we approve the Danby Seniors Agreement
Second
for
that.
2025.
The same. The cost is, I mean,
Yeah,
money's the same
Yeah, and you've seen it.
as last year.
Yeah, the other thing that changes, I don't think the amount changed either.
Huh?
Said, I don't think even the amount changed.
No, that's what I just said.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
Any discussions?
Yes.
Hunter? Yes. Stein?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Yay.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's good. Thank you.
Now, we had the public hearing. And we could, and there's a resolution prepared, which I presume you've seen. I didn't make a
Right.
copy of it, but did Pat?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
I move we approve resolution some number. Adopting the local law, enacting the New York State Real Property Tax Law, section 46(7)J restricted sale price exemption for housing trust. Et cetera, et cetera.
467, Jack.
Didn't I say that?
47, 46.
I don't know, 467J.
Second. Discussion?
So everybody's ready to vote on that?
Well, unless somebody wants to come in, when you want to say anything, but
Yeah. but-
Yeah.
Well, I just feel like I never really wrapped my head around,
it's complicated.
it's
Yeah.
pretty complicated, and I agree with Catherine about, we need to do anything we can to make homeownership easier for anyone. But I also worry about people who are in tough situations being prey. And I know that sometimes people who don't have a lot of options don't get the best terms. So I guess I was kind of expecting that we would maybe hear a little bit more about this or discuss it a little bit more.
Well, from what I understand, from what I was told by Kate, right? David Gosling. And is that this, for them, they can only access, they can do up to something like $60,000 worth of repairs. If it exceeds that, they can access additional funds, but only if the restriction is entered into, that would ensure that the investment of a large amount of money in a particular property is not going to be lost. Somebody's not going to profit off of it. And they're willing to do it, if you can lock in that additional value, and inflate it, at a much more
I guess
gradual rate instead of at the market rate.
that is the part that I wish I was more prepared for, that I had done a little bit, done enough research to find out the incentives for those who would facilitate this. You know,
Yeah.
what kind of profit is involved is basically the bottom line I was wondering.
For whom?
Well, I guess that's what I'm kind of wondering. When the representative of INHS was here speaking,
Mhm.
I've got to admit, I was completely unprepared for that. I wasn't expecting to hear from her, and I didn't really know what I was hearing at the time. And I know several weeks have gone by since then, and I should have taken those weeks to reach directly out to her. But for some reason, I guess I just sort of thought that we would hear more about this before we were voting on it.
I'm a little surprised she didn't come.
Do we need to do this tonight? I mean, is it possible to?
No.
Do it,
I think.
to postpone it until the next meeting, so.
Right, I mean, we had a public hearing. I think you have to act within a certain period of time, but it's not like 30 days at least. So we could postpone action if you want to hear more.
I mean,
from
I
her.
wouldn't mind. I mean,
I wouldn't
it
mind
was
hearing
very
more.
confusing.
Right.
Sorry to add more delays in just because I'm
No.
not prepared enough. I feel bad about that.
No,
Yeah, I
It would
mean,
be
in,
good.
in most instances, it's only in that particular instance, and that's what prompted the suggestion that we pass it. It applies, if they buy a property and they fix it up and then they sell it, they often have this kind of restriction on it, which restrains it keeps it affordable. But then, the person buying that property is getting a deal. And they're buying it in the full knowledge that it's going to be constrained. The appreciation of the property is going to be limited by the agreement. So I have no problem with that. I don't really have a problem with the other either, but the other instance where it applies is the case where they're trying to fix up some places that really run down, and it exceeds their, how much they could put into a property without having some guarantee that it's not going to be flipped in 10 years or whatever for way more than it's going to be a windfall for somebody. But that could probably be explained better by was the name Delia or Kate?
Maybe the thing to do is have specific questions so that we don't get overwhelmed by.
It's that
I was
one thing that we want explaining, right?
Well, I was just gonna kind of open it up to you guys. Do you guys know what, like, do we want to try and come up with what kind of questions we would have for somebody who like lives and breathes this? Someone who's doing this as their job and would be able to answer all of our questions?
what I wanted was a flow chart, what's this process look like?
Yeah, maybe like an example of like, walk through the process
Right.
of somebody who's like, maybe we could get like some examples of
Maybe
like
examples
somebody
of
that's a
that.
normal one, something that's like a little less normal,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a perfectly reasonable thing, and I asked, she had sort of like a one-page explanation.
Yeah.
They really ought to have that anyway.
Yeah.
Right,
Where they're under these various scenarios, this is when this is applied.
Right.
Because they're different classes, really, I mean, of properties. And it's nice to know, to look at each one and say, this is
Right.
clearly, and I did that, but she didn't have the, like a handout that you could
Right.
share that would make it easier to understand, because it's complicated enough that it'd be nice to have something like
Yeah.
that. So,
Can we withdraw or put it on hold until?
right. Postpone action. Tabling is the word.
Table.
We don't have to table to a particular, well, usually when you table, it comes up automatically. the nature
So
table.
So May
the
5th?
next meeting.
It would be at the next meeting, right?
May 5th?
Yep.
No, it'd be April 21st.
Oh, that's right, I forgot where we were,
Yeah,
April 21st.
and I could contact you and see if you can't get that. And if not, we can always table it again.
Well,
I mean, because there's actions and then there's need actions and then there's repercussions. I mean, there's,
Yeah,
down the
right.
road.
Right.
So, I mean,
Well, it has implications in terms of, I would say positive implications in terms of maintaining affordability.
yeah,
The negative is it reduces the tax revenue because it's not being assessed at full value,
right,
it's being assessed at suppressed value.
right, right,
It seems only fair because that's what that's what they can sell it for.
right.
Well, and it seems fair to us to do that because it says the town clerk has to, and has to provide a synopsis. And I don't know how
Yeah.
how the town clerk's gonna even do a synopsis of this. We don't really know either, some of it.
Mhm. Okay,
I mean, I can imagine how this is a really good thing. Yeah,
Right,
I don't know if what I'm imagining is the same thing as this thing though.
Yeah.
I need to kind of,
Yeah.
I need to figure out if I understand it correctly. I mean, I think that what I would like to do, I mean, if we're just talking, I don't know if we have an infinite amount of time here, but I'm gonna want to review the whole 467 to see,
Yeah.
what is this, what
Yeah.
is this real property tax law about
Yeah.
in general, and then to look at J and wrap my head around that, and then I'm gonna want to get a hold of, I wish I could remember her name that we spoke to with INHS.
was it?
I have notes from them, so I can go back.
yeah,
Um,
I forgot her name too.
and then
Ariel.
I'll email her.
Ariel, no.
It should be in the minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
actually, I got the minutes right here.
At any rate, easily enough looked up. I think asking for examples, the section of real property tax law is fairly straightforward.
Delia.
What it does is you're
Delia.
for properties that are participating, they're assessed at their reduced or constrained value, not at their full market value. So that's easy enough, but then, the application is what's complicated.
This is-
Yeah, I thought it was Dahlia. It is,
Yeah.
yeah.
so it's
Dahlia Yarrow,
Dario,
Yeah.
Yarrow.
yeah. So if she can available,
great.
because I thought she was gonna come. But the explanation of how it's applied is
Yeah.
what's warranted, I think. Okay, we rarely do motions to table, but I do think we do need to act on a motion though. So it's been moved to table it,
You move to table it, so I should second the table? Or what do you want?
doesn't matter.
I don't know.
You moved to table, didn't you?
We have 20 days to file it. Does that
20
mean-
days from the
Well, from the
public
time we
hearing?
adopt it,
Yes.
yeah. It's not
Oh.
like it's a pressing thing because, it won't apply anyway, so we missed the March 1st,
Right.
Oh, I see.
Thing
Oh,
for this year.
okay.
Yeah, so if we, seems like it seems to me we could, I don't know, I'm not gonna say.
we can
We
wait.
can wait and
Yeah.
then not have to do another hearing.
Right.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, and I'm not sure what the timeline is, but it's at least 30 days from the time you have the public hearing before you act,
Okay.
It
or you
says-
have to do another public hearing.
Oh, right.
Hmm.
Well, if we're only talking about till the next meeting, it's.
Yeah, should be okay.
Right.
So I'll second it if Leslie moved it. There was a motion to table.
Well, I think we should have a suggestion of that flow chart. And the one page explanation, so how a person would apply. I mean, that would be,
What would make somebody apply?
Yeah, how
Go
would-
back. Why would somebody apply? What's the situation? How do they apply? What, the process and
Who, what, when, where.
the outcome.
Mhm.
I mean, there's probably a flyer since other towns have, maybe there's already something, but we just have to.
Oh, yeah, no, this is not, we're not,
Right, it's not new,
we're not doing something that hasn't been done.
Right, so
before.
there should be a flyer or something, or an application.
That's
We
what
can
I
see an
thought.
application.
That's what I expected, but when I asked for one, it doesn't, evidently doesn't exist.
Huh?
So we may be prompting something here by,
Huh,
I think it should exist.
yeah. Well, we'll find out.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
ready for the vote?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Connors,
yes.
Hunter,
Yes,
Stein.
Yep.
Woodworth.
Yes.
Gagnon,
Yes.
thank you.
Welcome.
So I'm not clear though about what it is that we're asking for. I thought it was, but then you said something different.
about what, the action?
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
just
what are we,
looking at-
what are we looking for? What I had in mind and see if it's consistent with what you expect, is that it would tell us under what conditions this gets used.
Uh-huh,
Yeah,
No.
that's a good
that's sort of
question.
what she
Yeah.
said. Sort of, yeah.
Yeah,
And how it can be abused.
Right.
I don't know how it can be abused, but well, it's a.
That's why we ask.
Is somebody going to exploit, if the agency were trying to exploit somebody's situation, for what though? Because they don't get anything out of
That's
it.
why we ask.
Well, yeah, that's what I'd like to get to the bottom of, the idea that, you know, that they don't get anything out of it. That the incentives aren't to get, you know, paid.
Yeah, they don't get a
some
cut or
way.
anything, you know, it's just a matter,
Huh.
it reinforces their investment in a sense of in affordability, in the community's investment in affordability. If people are willing to either voluntarily, because you can do it that way voluntarily, but people can voluntarily choose to put their property in this trust. And that then, they no longer own the property,
All right,
the land, they own the building, but not the land. And it's that arrangement that everything else sort of tags along, to make it a contractual obligation of whoever owns the house. It's part of that, it's the framework for it.
so they no longer own the house, but they own the land,
No, the other way around.
the opposite.
Yeah.
That's okay,
They no longer own the
that's what I
land.
thought.
Basically leased it for 100-year increments, 99 years. And then they own the house, but because the land is leased, I guess it's connected in the law. So that
Yeah.
the constraint on the appreciation and value of the house is then, you know, according to the formula that they use.
It does seem like the sacrifice is a pretty good deal in the sense that you're not giving up your ownership of the house.
No, right.
And what you're getting in return is
And you're not giving up,
basically an enormous amount of value.
right, and you're not giving up any equity. You're limiting the future growth of equity. In other words, so I mean, you've got a house, and it's you either voluntarily choose to put it in this program, and if you did, you know, it would be worth whatever it was when you put it in. So in other words, and I might actually consider doing this, if I were to donate the land to this program, and then either INHS or Habitat for Humanity were to build a house on that land, the house, once it's constructed, when it's sold, it's sold with this covenant that says it will only appreciate at a certain rate. So, you know, nobody's losing anything. It's just that we're helping to guarantee that it would remain affordable because Habitat for Humanity and INHS builds subsidized construction. You know, they get federal money, they get donations, you know, and they're using a variety of ways to build something less expensively than
Yeah,
somebody who just does it to make a profit. They're not-for-profit organizations, so they're not trying to make a profit, but they don't, what they want What you don't want to do is have them build something, subsidize it, essentially, sell it, and then have somebody get a windfall out of it, flip it in 5 years
Right.
and get the appreciated value. So,
Exactly.
so, they're trying hard to build something that's affordable for somebody. They're selling it at a bargain. It's a bargain sale. And the person purchasing it buys it with the understanding that they
Yeah,
can't, it will not appreciate as fast as if it was unconstrained.
right.
Who administers this and pays for it all the years, those 99 years?
I don't know if there's an annual maintenance fee or anything for participating in it. It's
Somebody's
a,
gotta keep up with the records.
it's a deed restriction, so I mean, you can't sell it without it, it coming,
True.
being part of the legal processing. Hey, you can only get this much for it. I don't know how that works administratively. But they've been doing it for quite a long time now. So I'm sure they got examples of it, how
Yeah.
in practice.
Have to-
I'm excited to find out that it's as good as it sounds.
Okay,
I think it is, but the problem is it's subsidized housing, and the limit is always, who is willing to contribute to building or repairing houses at investing the money without any real return.
Yeah, I mean, that is an interesting thought about, say you put $60,000 or, less, into repairing a house, and then 10 years down the road, it needs $25,000 worth of repairs. I wonder.
Well, it also provides for, improvements to it. Those additional, in other words, if you did $25,000 worth of repairs, well, whatever the increase in the market value would be for making that repair, that is added to the basis. It's not like you can't improve the property, you can improve it.
I mean, it's not like so when you sell it, you can recoup the money that you put in for that additional repair.
Yeah, right. Right, but you
So you're
can't,
not disincentivized to
no, you
keep
can,
up on
right, no, not
repairs.
at all, yeah.
Right.
You still have to repair, and you still have to, and you could still improve. So, I mean, you could add on if you wanted to, or whatever, that people do to their houses. And that extra value gets added to the basis, but then it only appreciates at that constrained rate.
okey-doke.
I think it'd be a great thing to do a lot of those, but
Yeah, seems like a pretty good thing.
okay. We have an applicant for the Danby Youth Commission. Do we have indication what term of office it would be?
They're either one or two, it depends on
Yeah,
so I'm sure that if it's one, she will be, will request that she would be reappointed for the two after the one.
yes.
So I mean, it would be,
But you don't have a sense at the moment of what the balance is of one versus two is on the.
no, we are down, and so I don't know. And I wasn't prepared for that question, I don't know.
Yeah. So I move we appoint Patty Van de Bogart to the Danby Youth Commission for the appropriate term, whatever, 1 or 2 years, depending on which one is least occupied.
Whichever one was least.
Least
Yeah,
occupied.
whichever,
yeah.
in other words, if you got more twos than
Yeah.
ones, then
Yeah.
then you point out the one, if you got more ones than twos.
We'll have to figure that out.
We keep it for staggering.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
And that will be till the end of the year or the end of the following year, depending on which is wanted. Is that all clear, Blake?
Collins,
Yes,
Hunter,
Yes,
Stein,
Yes.
Woodward,
Yes,
Daniel.
Yes. We got this letter from who was it from? About the court audit.
what about it?
Well, we got this letter saying, basically, we're looking over your shoulder, we want to make sure you did this. And in order to know that you did it, we like a copy of the resolution where you said, where the board received the report of the audit committee.
Yeah.
We got, the board, the audit committee did report to the board, but we didn't pass a resolution saying, thank you very much, we got it. So since they want a copy of the resolution, I move that we acknowledge the report of the audit committee and its findings.
I'll second that.
And it probably should not be one of either of us, so up to you to second
I
it.
guess we can do it without you.
I'll second it.
Oh, I already did.
Oh, okay, I thought you
Right?
said for, you
Did I?
moved it. Okay. Oh, good, okay.
Yeah.
So I don't see where the audit committee needs to recuse themselves from.
No, I didn't. I just meant for seconding. I didn't,
yeah.
I was
Yeah,
Yeah.
slow on the draw.
Okay,
okay.
okay,
Connors,
Yep,
Hunter,
Yes.
Stein,
Yes,
Woodward.
Yes,
Gandy.
yes,
Thank you.
And along that line, we've completed the clerk audit, but we haven't submitted a report, so,
yeah.
Yeah.
A work in progress. You completed them.
yep.
yes.
Then we'll move on to supervisor.
Yes, Barbara's really looking forward to that.
I'm hoping within the next couple of weeks,
Okay,
we can get that scheduled.
perfect.
Good. Action plan to address code and junk law compliance, non-compliance. We have had a concern for some time about the violations of property maintenance and
Oh, boy.
well, less so building code, but property maintenance certainly, the junk law and derelict buildings. And we had a couple of discussions about this at staff meeting. And Greg and I spoke about it. And I asked him, well, basically some of this falls on Greg, and that's an artifact of the way our laws were written, because the zoning officer is identified as the enforcement official. And Greg is the zoning officer. That's an artifact of the way our law was written, because at the time, the zoning officer and the code officer were the same person. Now that they're separated, but the law says zoning officer, that basically makes it not Steve, but Greg's responsibility. So the difficulty is that Greg doesn't have a whole lot of time. Steve doesn't seem to get to it. We talked about it, and I asked him to talk to Blake, and I asked him to talk to Julia Hughes. And Julia, who has a background in law, was enthusiastic about acting as our point person for pursuing, and the prosecution of these cases, by which means keeping track and doing paperwork and all that stuff, which is something that doesn't require a planner's degree to do. And I spoke with Laura about it too, and I spoke with Julie about it, and Julie said, she's constrained by how much time she can spend, but she had quite a bit of hours left over that she could spend doing this, and still help Laura out with getting the warrants done. So this is more of a report to the board, and I'm trying to make sure everybody's on board with the idea of having Julia do that. Using our new software that we just invested so much money in. It's in there, the new, I keep forgetting the name of this stuff, the code software.
yeah.
Cloud permit. Yeah. It has in it all the stuff for tracking enforcement. you know, because you issue permits and then you keep track and people, you know, there are time things and there are triggers to say, okay, next step. And it's got that same stuff for, you know, if somebody's in violation, you know, follow it through to its conclusion.
So are we gonna, does that mean that we'll have to expend more money?
Well, that's the thing, is that because she's got, it's already budgeted for her to spend that time, we can do it within the budget and just have her, you know, shift is the wrong word, but you know, add that to what she has been doing. Without costing us, well, without exceeding what's in the budget. I mean, last time it was money left on the table, which all, you know, went back in the general fund because you didn't use it all,
Okay.
but this could bolster our efforts to get some enforcement done.
Huh.
Yeah. She
Great.
has plenty of experience.
Yeah, I mean, she worked in a law office.
Yeah.
So she's familiar with the courts. There was a question of, I think Gary pointed out, you know, we've got a drawer full of fines that were levied that weren't paid. You know, what leverage do you have? And that's something that we're looking into, but there is a mechanism for getting those fines levied against the property as a lien.
So, and this you're thinking about for Julia? I mean, is she gonna also work for the court?
No, not for the
No.
court. The question is, you know, if it becomes an issue that people are levied fines by the court and they're not paid, then we have some, we do have recourse. There's other things we can do. It's not like, oh, well, so why bother? You know, because nobody, they're not gonna pay the fines anyway. There is a mechanism for following up.
And the town's responsible for that, not the court?
I think that's right. Yeah.
It's the town's money, not the court's money. It is,
The court's setting the fine.
but
Yeah,
the
the
court
court sets the
can't keep
fine.
that money.
Would
The
you
court
stop?
has to give it away right away.
Right, I mean, as Pat says, you know, if court levies a fine, that fine's supposed to come to the town.
Right.
That was,
So it's owed to the town. So if it doesn't get paid, the town can follow up and basically, what my understanding, you basically file a lien against the property for what's owed. So that gives you something to fall back on, a little bit of leverage.
yeah, that actually came up in the audit.
Yeah.
Did it?
Yeah.
A question for you, Joel.
No.
If I recall from the last time this subject came up years ago, I think, there was some discussion of whether it was cost effective to actually try to recover that that fine, that it might cost more to recover it than the fine is worth. Do you have any input on that?
No, we didn't get that far. You know, when we pursued the violation of the law associated with having that major event, there was, you know, the associated fine was a fraction of what it costs to pursue it, but we did it anyway in the interest of trying to get the action, not having it repeated. This would be a similar thing, you know, if we have to, we can resort to this mechanism. This would be the end stage of a multi-stage process. The first thing you do is you contact people and ask, you know, can you clean up your mess? And find out whether or not, what's the reason why they aren't doing it? Is it because they don't have the money, or they're in a bind, they can't physically handle it? Or are they just thumbing their nose at us? And if it's the latter, then we go after them, and then, you know, ultimately you can resort to this mechanism if they ignore fines. But that's not what we're trying to do. What we're
Right.
trying to do is get people to clean up the mess.
Right. Yeah, the purpose is not the fine. The fine is the part of the ways to the the end.
Yeah, right. So, So what this is an effort to identify the problem and pursue it. You know, through the various steps and hopefully resolve it before it even gets to fines.
Who's gonna decide what she is gonna go after?
Well, the feeling was that we should concentrate on a few of the worst messes first. And, you know, in conjunction with it, we can put out a thing in the newsletter saying, you know, we're concerned about the messes and they're not being cleaned up and we're gonna be pursuing it. And, you know, you could help us out by doing it for your property, so that we don't have to do that.
Well, in some of the situations are not just, I mean, we are using that word loosely, mess. We're talking about buildings that are fallen, the roof's fallen in.
Yeah, that's
they're
different.
Totally, I mean,
Yeah.
they're not inhabitable.
Yeah.
They're not habitable. They are inhabitable. And they are,
Uninhabitable.
They're uninhabitable.
they're disasters, they're dangerous.
Yes.
Caught me
And
on-
some are health issues too. Health department should.
Right.
deal with
Yes.
So the health department hasn't been very,
Wow.
Yeah.
they're not very helpful.
Maybe
No,
we
you
need to
know-
get everybody on the same page in the mood by declaring like a summer of cleanup or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see.
Maybe we
where
could get everyone
it's-
thinking about it.
Let's just put up a big fence. You can't see it.
Well, I mean, that is an option.
Yeah, well,
It isn't when you think about what's
Depends
living
on
in
what it
this
is,
stuff
yeah.
on the ground. and-
Depending on what
and
it
Coming
is.
out of the derelict
That's right.
building that might be, you know, dying and then getting in our water. I mean, there's plenty of things that we don't want just by
Right.
leaving a place that's seeping dangerous stuff into the earth and into the water and blah, blah, blah.
You know, if-
Generating rats.
If,
So-
if we were gonna actively pursue trying to make headway on that problem, I mean, it would be cool if, before we start using the stick, you know, we could get people just feeling the vibe. I mean, the seasons are changing. Maybe there are people out there who
Spring
would be
cleanup.
receptive to the idea that your yard is a mess. And they'd be like, you know, I noticed that and I would like to clean that up. I mean, if just a small number of people in that category were
some
to
of the
be
messes,
motivated
some
to
of the
take an
messes are
action.
so bad that they,
Yeah.
you know that they can't do anything about
That's right.
it.
Yeah.
Like the
It's
roof
like,
that's has a big hole in it next door.
Yeah.
You know,
The
and I
building
don't-
Next door.
I don't mean anything, you know,
Yeah.
derisive by it, but you know, like hoarding conditions are far more common than people actually think. And I mean, I think there's probably a lot of people who you know, they would like
Yeah.
to clean up their mess, you know, there's a part of their mind that says this is important to do, I need to do it. And then every day the mess gets bigger.
Right.
You know, and I mean,
There's the
it's
range.
possible that somebody could
Yeah.
want to clean up their mess and not be doing it. I don't know, maybe we could
Yeah.
get
There
the
is a
people to do it.
There is a mechanism that Julia mentioned along that line, and I'm not good enough to try and repeat it correctly. Greg, do you remember what she said? You contact it's like getting a wellness check. To see if
Oh,
there's,
mhm.
yeah, I forget who does it. It's not,
But Julia knows, so she can.
yeah, Julia mentioned
Right.
a mechanism
Mhm.
for trying to arrange a like a wellness check where you check in with the person and see.
Mhm.
Yeah, I wonder if there are any organizations or any people
Yes.
who would be interested, maybe, you know, people who are like, people who have personal experience, people whose parents or grandparents have struggled with the same types of problems, that maybe they've got some insight into what works, you know, how to help somebody who needs the help to get it done.
You know,
Maybe we could contact somebody. I mean, there's gotta be other examples
I
of
think we're talking
cleanup
about
efforts.
two different
Mhm.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's
And
two
the
things.
housing, the
It's-
thing that you're talking about, I think is a great plan. That's a great idea to try and that we could take on sort of separately, but we're also, we're talking about like.
The roof with the whole.
Yeah,
house.
Yeah,
structural
There's
falling
two,
stuff
into
that
the
there's two
base.
things.
not
There's
clean.
the,
That's not a
there's the junk. law.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Right.
yeah, there's junk.
And
You
then,
have a junk
and then there's the building,
The
code
derelict
issue
building,
with,
right.
with
Yeah,
the
those are
building
two separate
becoming
things.
unsafe and needing repair.
right?
And I think it's a shame that we wait until the place has fallen down and to take action.
That's
with
where Tyler's mission.
timely action, I think it's in the law, I think we can either, we can lean on people to repair. And if they can't do it, we can actually do it.
Oh, we should have passed that 467J.
Mhm.
Sorry.
No,
that's not part of it.
No, I just mean, get some repairs in these houses before they fall in.
Yeah, I mean, and you basically, it's something simple like, fix the roof.
So who's gonna decide? I mean, I keep going back to the property on Miller Road.
Yeah, that was,
Right.
that was the top of the list.
Okay, I mean, but, is there a way that, we could have input or some,
Is that the one with the
who's
carbon?
gonna decide
Or is it
what,
structure?
Which
the
one to go
order
after?
in-
That's a question for Greg.
That's a big question, though. Like,
Right.
Just who, how is it gonna be decided which properties or folks to sort of approach first, I mean,
Yeah, there's no kind of, set parameters, it's more, have there been, are people recently complaining about them, or, are there past violations on them? Like some properties I've learned have had past violations of them, and then they got better, and then there's over time they back that way. So no, at this point, it's not like we have some sort of criteria that need to hit,
Okay.
but we do have a few in mind to start
I mean, it
working on.
might be good to have a criteria that just, says at a certain point, we need to make contact.
Well, I mean, if we had the resources, I would like to be able to just drive around and say, this property, that property, and that property, and then, just notify them all.
It
But-
seems right
but-
now, one
but
of the
sense
major
was-
things is to test the process and
Yeah,
see if
right.
it works, and then we can do
Yes.
a lot more things with
So
getting.
the sense was, let's do 5 or 6,
Yeah, right.
Get, and run it through the mill, get some experience for how to make it happen. And maybe get some results, which will then help prompt, a larger effort.
Criteria and other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not hard to point to a few key
Mhm.
properties that would be good candidates for the first round.
yeah,
People actually different people have come up to me or in
Right.
conversations and
Right.
specifically said, and that's then where there is a complaint that's filed, and if we don't do something, then, it's on us to say, okay, as the town board, I've been contacted by residents to say,
yeah.
you gotta do something.
It seems like complaints are a good place to start.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if
I mean,
people
if-
are
Maybe we could
coming
have a
to us.
process of where, complaints are collected.
Right.
I mean, I've noticed a few that I know Subinas used to go after, people for having, 20 cars in a sensitive watershed area. And I've noticed those in that situation that the cars are multiplying again.
Mhm.
But, if there's whether it's at staff meeting or, some way to give input, either things that we've seen or
Mhm.
complaints that we've heard.
Yeah,
Staff meeting?
Yeah, there's a staff meeting.
every couple of weeks.
Every 2 weeks.
Versus a town board meeting,
Yeah,
Staff
two
of,
different things.
staff of
The
who?
town.
Staff
this
of-
building,
The building,
Code
planner.
Code planner,
highway.
That happens how?
highway,
every 2 weeks.
me.
I have not been to any of those.
It's not a town board meeting, the
Well,
town members don't go there.
Well,
They're
we've
representative.
been careful not to have,
We have to limit the number of board people on it.
Right,
Right,
Because then it would be an official.
gotcha.
because then we'd be conducting a
Yeah.
business outside of a meeting. So
That's-
usually,
makes sense.
I invite at least either
Yeah.
Pat or Catherine to come. If they both came, it'd be problematic, but that hasn't happened.
the other thing is that at that case, I feel like the board people are trying to support our staff people. The
Yeah.
staff people are tasked with these jobs, and if the staff people can bring something and the board can support, then that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Mhm. So anyway, that's, there's a plan. And it is, and it's basically to add Julia to the process to see if we can't get some more action.
Yeah, I think that once if something does happen, that may also be a help, because a lot of people just have negative things to say about what the town looks like.
Yeah,
And if something happens that's visible, with a couple of visible places, it may help us.
Yeah.
we've been there, and we've been there before. You may, well, you've been around one, Leslie, remember when Maycomers was next to Dobson's.
Oh,
And, and we used to get, whenever you go after somebody, it was, well, why don't you do something about Maycomers?
Right, exactly, right.
And we did,
There you go.
but it was a meaningful investment of town funds to go after him and shut him down, basically.
Well, in Slaterville, I mean, when you drive down 79, Slaterville is different now. I've seen it like, wow, this is looking different. They've done things. I mean, the facing of the buildings, some of it, just various and sundry things happened there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's part of a pride of ownership, really.
Yeah.
And, community pride.
Well, it even came up at the, and wherever we show up, if people know that we're something, they talk to us. I mean, it came up at the art show at the Gallery Sunday, somebody mentioned, it came up again, so.
Yeah,
Comes up,
you get these, what are you gonna do about
right.
questions?
Yep, sometimes when I see a certain person in the park, I think, should I turn to the other? No, I never do. Okay, I'm willing to listen and talk, yes.
So now we can say, yeah, we're doing something. Okay, back to the additions. We have a multifamily rehab ready for board approval to proceed, which, if you looked at the scope of work, it's all exterior. It's roof and porch rebuilds for 1839 Danby Road, which is across the street.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know what you're talking
is
about.
that, it's
It's,
up a little bit,
it's,
yeah.
just,
just south of the,
well,
market.
yes, right.
Okay.
It's Olivia's property.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
So, I move that we authorize that work to proceed.
I'll second that.
Thomas,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes.
Brian,
Abstain.
Woodward,
Yes,
Gang.
Yes. All right, did you for the water?
I did.
You did, yeah.
Mhm.
Could you,
Yeah.
I got a note from Ben,
Me.
but I didn't really get it, yeah,
Oh, I sent the note.
it was just,
Yeah, I sent the note. Ben, I was at the meeting. They voted on it. He asked me if I would take care of it.
okay,
I unfortunately said yes. Yeah, I forget his name, but somebody resigned.
yeah, Peter
Peter,
McDonald
yep.
resigned.
And the West Emmy Water District will send a note for the next newsletter announcing an open position so they can get people to apply. What they would like in the meantime is to have an immediate interim appointment to fill that vacant position until
Until we get somebody.
you get somebody. They don't want to be panicky about filling the position. They want them to have time. And they have a person who could fill it without any problem at all. Marjorie Seaman is willing, short term. She emphasized short term. That means she doesn't want to do it for a long time. She will do it interim until somebody is appointed or until that term is up and there's somebody new appointed for another term, but she's willing to do it for a short term.
Mhm.
She has been involved with it for 20 years. She was the clerk for 15 of those years. She's still involved because she has historical knowledge and people are always asking her questions. She was at the last board meeting. She got several questions and answered them immediately. She knew what a form was and she knew where it was, that everybody could find that something hadn't been done. So Water District voted to ask her to serve and to ask us to appoint her to serve again.
She's, I mean, I don't see, and I don't see anything wrong with doing an interim appointment, but, I don't see, but the only thing she's gained by it is she gets to vote as opposed to just come to the meetings.
And since she's been there for 20 years, it's nice to give her a vote when they need it.
You know, if it's only for a month.
A month or two, it
Yeah.
depends on what they is. So I move that we make an interim appointment of Marge Seaman to the West Danby Water District Advisory Council to temporarily fill the seat vacated by a member who has resigned until a longer term appointment can be made to fill that seat,
Okay.
or until the term for that seat ends. In other words, she will not, absolutely not go beyond the end of that term.
Yeah, which is Peter's on, and I think Peter's might have even been for balance of some of a previous term that was. He wasn't appointed for 5 years, in other words. I think he was filling in the previous resignation. But we have to check. You know, on that.
Leslie's
I
checking.
think
Leslie's
Peter's up
checking.
at 28 maybe.
Well, her primary agreement is that there will be work done to find us. And it will
Yeah,
not be.
Peter's up
renewed.
at 28.
28.
Yeah, so it is not, she is not planning to stay in.
Yeah.
But that position is.
Yeah. I mean, this is something we should do. We should solicit interest in the position.
She will be sending, the water district will send an announcement out about asking for people to apply in the next newsletter.
Okay. They
Ma-
apply to us.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, usually we handle that process of soliciting interest.
That's what that Pat was just saying, that it can go in the newsletter.
it will
Yeah,
be
she
in
should go in the
and
newsletter.
she will write the information. Meryl will send me the information for the
Yeah,
newsletter.
right. Yeah, it's okay.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion?
We've already had discussion.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
know.
we have.
Any further
No
discussion?
more.
We had a previous.
Yeah. Okay,
Yes.
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 Yes,
yes.
Okay.
Let's see what else. All right.
attic heat detector.
Yes, you saw the report, I presume, as part of the annual, I guess, an annual review of our alarm system components. The ones, I presume it's this building that they're talking about. Up in the attic, there are heat detectors. And, why they need to replace it, not obvious, evidently they're obsolete.
I thought I understood why they were saying they need to replace, and I was surprised at the price, and so I looked up what it would cost for me to do the same thing, and it was the same price, like
Was it?
my house. But yeah, when they said addressable, I think what they mean is that when the alarm goes off, they'll know exactly where in the building
Exactly,
the alarm
yes.
is.
As opposed to now, it's just like
There's somewhere, someplace, there's a problem.
someplace there's a
Yeah,
problem.
this isn't like a high school or
But
something. it's
all
such a
3 of
small
them are in
building.
this room?
What?
All 3 of them are in this room?
Well, these are the two in the attic, I think, right?
I thought it was 3.
Oh, 3?
There's
Okay.
3
And I don't know if they're all 3 in this attic or.
in the
maybe-
attic. Where else is there an attic?
Well, there's an attic in addition to,
Is there really?
yeah. I mean, the roof is like this and the ceiling's like that, so there's gotta be some space up in the end. Whether there's any, whether they're all here or some is there, I don't know. It's not really clear from the report when it talks about,
No, like it'd be nice to know where they are and. I
Yeah.
mean, if all 3 are in this room, I think having them, how necessary is it
Right.
to have?
I don't love the idea of cutting corners with the fire detector, but at the same
Yeah.
time, like, how necessary is this?
Well, I like it
They're-
how they
are-
came
they're up
through and
there.
it looks like somebody gave one estimate and then somebody else came through and said, nope, that's not what you need this, which of course costs more money.
Mhm.
Right,
How'd
it
that
seems
happen?
like a new technology that
It was
you can
recent.
use to make the old technology obsolete, so you can sell new technology. It
It
seems like if you have a big
kind of does.
complicated building,
But
you
it
would
was-
definitely want this.
it
I
was-
mean,
Yeah, if you want to know which wing it is, it's good there, where there's a problem, right?
yeah, like if you're operating like an elementary school, it seems like these would be critical. Because you have a giant building and.
So they came on March 25th
Mhm.
and said, you need 3, it's gonna cost you $475.
Yeah, and then it
And
became
then-
500 something.
Today, which I don't know when today is, they came and the person said, oops, no, those aren't any good. You need 3 that are it'll cost you $525. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Were you here late when they came? You know, and did you see this?
I do not. Once there, I don't.
Yeah.
Specific.
Yeah.
Mariah.
I don't know. I mean, this,
Mariah talked
it's not very much information.
That's access.
That's
That's access to the attic up there.
Where does it go? It goes all the way across the building?
Yeah, but only to the, only to the.
No, this is the original building. I don't think it goes,
Yeah, it doesn't go through the
it
other
doesn't
side.
go through, so the
So-
addition, that's all an addition.
Yeah,
We have 4. Are those heat detectors or smoke detectors there?
those are. A good question. They're probably
So
smoke
right-
detectors.
Right above those, we have 3 more. So why would they need to be addressable if it's just right there? I mean,
I don't know.
They're
Good
in
question.
the attic.
We're gonna
Whatever it is, these heat detectors are inside the attic.
well, I'm just imagining like, if there's one of them somewhere over there and there's one of them somewhere over there and one of them goes off and the fire department doesn't know which one.
I know.
They still know that this is the building that's on fire
And it's up there.
and it's somewhere up there. It just
Yeah.
doesn't seem like it's a big enough building to
I
need
mean,
that detailed of information, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm not a firefighter.
I guess there could be different reasons for heat, and where's, if there's no flame and there's just heat. I mean, don't attics get hot?
Well, they do, but there's hot and there's hot.
I don't know. I don't feel like there's,
Like
and
300
there's
degree
not very
days.
much information. I mean, it'd be nice
No.
to have a page, with what these things are. I mean,
Well, Tyler's got the expertise to ask these questions.
I thought you were gonna say I could climb up there. Probably could, I guess.
there's a ladder,
Oh, yeah, I mean, I can get up there, but I mean, it's not gonna answer the question, why do we need addressable smoke or fire, heat detectors?
well,
That's-
why was it
What's
different?
wrong with the ones we got, basically?
Was this one
We probably would have.
technician not thorough or didn't know about what
Rather,
we should have?
rather
Or,
than asking the technician, shouldn't we ask like the fire department? I mean, they would be the ones responding.
huh,
Yeah.
Like, how big of a deal is this
How
to
many,
you?
how many do we need? Yeah,
Or like,
I mean, this is
if we
the
have the
alarm.
dumb guy instead of the smart guy.
This is the alarm
That-
company that's telling us
We're
this.
saying addressable, that doesn't really. To me, are you sure addressable means location?
Actually, I do think so, but I can.
I think that's what I heard as well.
Yeah. I don't even see that in here, so I must have not gotten all.
I don't see addressable either.
Yeah, I don't know where you're getting
But-
that.
I thought I saw it someplace.
Oh, no,
It's not
additional.
one you make up.
It's a more,
It's not a
yeah,
word you make up.
it's a more advanced sensor that can be
Where is it?
individually identified and
Let's see.
located on a fire alarm system.
Yeah, okay.
Is that what the silent night stands for? I mean, what, I don't see addressable.
I don't see it in this paper, that's why I'm asking too. Where did you see that?
It was
I
in
don't
the,
have
it
it
was
in
in
front of
the,
me.
it was in the.
I think it was
The
in the report.
Note or letter that that they first sent us saying, as we did our review and we identified this deficiency in your detectors, they're obsolete.
Yeah, so
You need
the,
new addressable ones.
That
page
wasn't the
6.
statement.
Hmm?
That wasn't the statements were.
No, it's not a
It's
statement.
not on the
It's
statement.
not a statement.
No,
It's in that
it's Cover
communication.
letter that came
Right.
from the other place.
I'm seeing it here on page 6 of something that's in the today's, is it today's? No, this is actually from March 20th. I think here.
Was it?
It was an email sent.
Yeah,
March
I'm getting
20th.
it on SharePoint here.
Yeah,
from
that's where it would
what
be.
is this? So yeah, in today's meeting folder for SharePoint, down near the bottom, the very last thing, which is modified, oh, it's modified March 24th. That's why that's gone. So
I think that's what Leslie was pointing to.
on page 6 in really small text, it says 3 conventional heat detectors in attic above town hall offices on SLC addressable loop should be
Well, the
replaced with
offices are-
addressable devices.
If it's the offices, then it's the other.
That's,
the other
offices are
building.
there.
Okay,
I don't have anything like that.
so yeah, I looked up addressable devices and that's what I found is that,
Is where that is.
yeah, that way.
So read that again. Where does it say?
3 conventional heat detectors in attic above town hall offices on SLC addressable loop should be replaced with addressable devices, Silent Night model SK heat.
Okay. But that sounds in the new wing, like it's in the new wing and not this one.
It says the offices, so
Yeah.
that sounds like it is.
Yeah, that sounds like there and not here.
Which
Above
is
town hall.
bigger and weirder shape.
Yeah, is it not a big
It's
open
L
square?
shaped.
It's not a big
Yeah.
open.
Cause yeah, that's what I was
Goes
thinking.
down,
If
goes
it's
down.
just a big open square, why would you need
Yeah.
to
Right,
know which
It's,
part?
it's not, it's a
Right.
long.
Okay.
It's an
All
L,
in
it's
another
L shaped,
block.
but why we need more.
The reasons for heat could be, there could be
Yeah.
plenty of reasons. If
No
there's a
flame.
wiring problem with a light over there, that's, you want to, in the thing will detect that heat
Right.
before there's a fire.
Right.
Because it's not over there, that seems like a pretty good idea to me, but the loop is the other phrase. It may be that, are they, like some smoke detectors are looped, so I don't know.
Right.
So
Well,
that they
they're,
would be.
yeah, as in they're currently looped, but they're not addressable, so that if anyone goes off, they all go off? or-
I don't know, I mean.
Oh, no, we don't know that. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't.
They're
know what
also
we're talking-
labor,
we're just guessing.
labor is
Yeah.
$250 for the first hour and $125 for each additional
We should, I
hour.
think we should just call
How
it
many
back and say
hours
this isn't
so
good
they're gonna
enough
be here?
information.
Doing that.
We need to know more.
Didn't the price include a labor,
I just,
just the detectors?
I think the price is just the detectors because they're over
yeah,
$100
and then,
apiece,
and
or
then
like
the
150
labor
apiece.
is $250 for the first hour, $125 for each additional hour. How long,
I was gonna
Well, you
say,
have to, are you willing to climb up and go through?
this
these
actually
habits?
sounds like it's all in here.
yeah, it does.
This says town hall.
Okay, so the house
size.
burned down, but we won't worry about it.
So how do you get up there then? if
That
it's
is a
not-
good question. I don't know.
There must be a hole in somebody's room there.
Wandering
yeah.
around after the meeting looking for.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a drop ceiling in here,
doors.
so,
Oh,
They drop ceiling.
so I don't know what, there's gotta be some way up in there, but there's gotta be some insulation up there someplace. I don't know.
town hall side.
Well, anyway, we don't
We don't know where.
we don't know what we're talking about.
So we
We
need
don't know
more
how much.
information
Yeah, we do.
and
How much
you
and
bring that
where?
next
I
week.
think it needs to be, I think we probably need to do this, but it would be nice if we understood what we're
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's,
I hate the idea of cutting this corner just because it's like, it's gonna cost $500, but
Well,
then.
if we can make a case for why it's wanted.
And then
Safety
if-
features are not,
Right.
you don't cut corners on safety
Right,
features.
exactly.
There's
Not with
other
fire and
things, but not
safety.
safety features, so. But there is questions that we have, so we should get those
Maybe,
answered first.
in other words, maybe we need 4,
That's
Right.
also
Could
possible.
be the
I do
person-
see 2 different kinds
Me too.
listed here, a fixed temperature and a rate of rise. Because it does seem a little bit weird that these fixed temperature ones might be set to around 135 degrees, which,
Get that.
I mean, an attic could
Yeah.
almost be getting that hot on a hot day. I mean, maybe that,
Hasn't happened evidently though.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, so can we get more information somehow?
Who wants to do this? You wanna do it?
Yeah, who are we looking, I mean, are we gonna get this information from the company that's trying to sell it, or are we looking to speak to next door?
I want to know how they
Well,
decided to come in the first place. That's what I'm
Well, it's
curious.
Century.
Did nobody
Century.
define it?
Yes,
That's who
they
we
did.
have a
It's
contract
Century.
with,
Okay,
yeah.
so
Yes,
that's.
we have
what
a
it- yeah,
contract
We
with
have a
them.
regular
They-
contract
Yeah.
to
It's part of the
inspect,
annual
which is
review, I guess.
important
Yeah.
to have.
That's
Yeah.
probably the.
Yeah.
You check it once,
Yeah.
every once in a while, make sure everything's working like it's supposed to.
So we can check with that company and we can also ask the fire department about it.
Yeah, I can reach out to both.
You can research it to whatever degree you think is useful for answering the question about,
How much money? Where,
do we need it, and what's it gonna cost?
do we need it? The other thing is, would it be, if it's not critical, would it still be helpful long-term to do it now?
Well, it might be helpful. I mean, it's always like, you need a computer, well.
Well, it would be, I mean,
We've
maybe
got-
one of them isn't working. We don't, the thing is, we didn't get enough, so.
Yeah.
between-
It's not that they're not working.
It sounds
That's
like
not
they're
my
just at-
impression, is that
there's
the ones
newer
we've got,
stuff
they're
that's
just
better.
obsolete.
Yeah.
Right.
They're like, they're new, fancier, better ones, 'cause they're addressable, and the old ones aren't. So it's like,
Okay,
do we need it? I don't know, check it out.
I'll do that. Yep.
Yeah. You know, I'm making a note, neither will check.
Contact information.
I mean, it's a great way to make more money if you replace things
Besides
that,
what's
I
you
know.
know,
All those things that we put in are,
the new and better ones, you know.
yeah,
Right, they're gonna call us next year and say, well, these don't have Wi-Fi.
yeah,
Yeah, right,
and they're different color.
yeah. That's all I have.
What, I know it wasn't on the agenda, but I don't know if it could be on next meeting's agenda, but are we thinking at all about the sewer stuff? Where are we at with that?
Well, yeah, we are thinking about it, and Greg, you want to do a briefing as to, there have been multiple meetings.
So the thought was, we had a really small meeting last Wednesday. And we were thinking that it would probably be worth to have a well-publicized 2 community meetings, maybe one at the end of May and one in June. One up here and then one down in West Danby. That's like what we're just tentatively sort of thinking about here, as just really advertising it out, mailing to maybe everyone in potentially affected areas and just having an open community meeting. We've been sort of holding off on that because we wanted to at least answer questions on.
Right,
We don't want to go to a meeting where we don't have any answers to
Right,
anything and just,
right.
So we've been gathering between Joel and I and frankly, Zach, thanks for your help a lot. Really, really appreciate it. Just trying to answer as many questions as we can. We've
Okay.
had a couple of meetings with Guy Crow. Last week we met with the engineering company that put the report together, the Environmental Facilities Corporation that would be helping to provide additional funds for the project. We met with them last week. And so it seems like the next step, based on that meeting and with Guy, the next step, even without a lot of the questions sort of fully answered, but is going through what's called a map, plan, and report. It's similar to what was done on Beardsley Lane for the
Yeah.
water district. And this process will say, this is the proposed district boundaries of the sewer, and here's all the components that are going to go in it. Here's what it's going to cost.
right,
Um,
okay,
and then that will drive the next community discussion, because that process is subject to permissive referendum. So,
right,
it could go to a vote and people can weigh in on it that way. There would be public hearing, there would be notification from that, but that seems to be the
Okay.
next step. But even before, sort of in tandem of doing that, it seems that it's now worth it to let's have a big community meeting.
Couple of them.
Yeah, and so, okay, well,
Okay.
yeah, so thinking end of May as a way that we can advertise it in the newsletter, we can talk about it at the next couple of town board meetings.
Okay.
And then I think probably, I think it's worth, just springing for mailers to people in these areas, in the hamlet.
Yeah, and because we're hoping that we'll have more information to share. It's been frustrating trying to
yeah,
get, trying to get feedback from Hunt.
Yeah.
They got us into this.
yeah, really,
And then with the thought that, if you get this, you're 3/4 of the way there. And then I expected that when we got the grant, that they would be there to say, okay, now here's what you do next.
yeah,
In order to pursue this. Not a word out of Tim. But when we had the meeting with the Environmental Facilities Corporation last week, it was invited, Tim didn't come, but, who was it?
Yeah, one of his underling engineers who helped to put together the report, and then one of the administrators who actually wrote the grant. So that was helpful.
They did come.
It was a little, well, it was information that we easily could have had months
Months
ago,
ago.
and we could have started this process and just had those questions answered. So whatever, here we are.
Yeah.
And we think enough information right now and direction
Okay.
that we should advertise this out to the larger community to say, here's what's going on, here's the things that we know right now and the next steps. And
Okay. Is there a deadline if we were to decide to do something? Is there a deadline for getting?
Deadline on the
finished?
grant.
you mean deadline finished in terms of what?
I mean, or started, if we were to say, yes, we're gonna do this, whatever the districts are, or whatever, is there a timeline where we would have to say we're gonna do it, or have it finished, or have it started, or, I mean, is this like is the grant open for 5 years or 2 years?
Yeah, it wouldn't be 5 years. The tricky thing right now that we don't know is when the DEC, that's the funder for this
This part of it.
this part of it, the 75% funding, the $4.6 million, that
Right.
was by the DEC.
Okay,
They haven't given us the contract yet. Once we get the
Okay.
contract, but that actually buys us time. It's
Yes, it
actually
does.
good.
Yes,
I
it
mean, if
does.
they
No.
gave us the
Okay.
contract 2 months
Uh-oh.
ago, that would have,
would be,
we're not being prepared for that, but
okay,
once we get the contract, we have 90 to 120 days to sign the contract.
okay,
So as a point of reference, and not that we can hang our hats on just this, but last year I was working on a WQIP, and that contract didn't come out until August. And then the award had to be signed 90 to 120 days later. So I'm
Okay.
the more time, the better,
Mhm.
Yeah.
honestly, to just
Yeah.
to make sure that the town is prepared to
Yeah.
either accept or
Whatever, yeah.
not.
okay.
So, we're making incremental progress towards
Right.
understanding, what our options are. And that was one question I had, which
Yeah.
evidently, Hunt could have easily answered months ago.
Yeah.
Is, how much flexibility is there
Right.
in the implementation? Evidently, not a whole lot. It
Really?
looks like
Yeah.
what the engineers recommended
That's
at
pretty
the,
much it.
is pretty much what we have to do.
Which makes sense. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
right.
almost kind of sort of embarrassing to them. It makes sense. It's just that we needed to be sure of that. It's, if you think about just any grant application, if you're writing a grant application, you say, I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z, the funder says, here's money to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Yes.
But we just wanted to see what really is that wiggle room there. And there's not much. And then in terms of the sewer district creation, there's 2 ways to do it. And Joel was trying to think of a 3rd way to do it. It's creative, yeah, but we got
You can't
direct,
be creative.
at least not in this
Right.
timeline.
Yeah.
Maybe, but
Okay.
it would take changing state law.
Well, Guy's recommendation is that we use 12A, Article
It
12.
just means Article 12A, and it could be
Which
flexible
is,
down the
which is
road.
the most prescriptive approach to it.
Huh. No,
And, he basically saying, do that, and you can, and then from there, you can, do other things,
Uh-huh.
but, focus on that first approach. The frustration for me is that when Hunt did this report in the first place, the process was supposed to include an opportunity for public feedback on the draft report.
yeah,
And then in revision before it was submitted. The process got dragged out and that part got chopped off. So there was never any opportunity, we got the copy of the report after it was submitted.
right,
When there was never any opportunity
never
to
any-
review it, comment on it, challenge whether
Tweak
it's the
it,
best way to
yeah.
approach it or not.
Yeah.
And now we got an application based on the recommendation in that report, which is
Right.
what the engineers decided they are, to recommend.
Right,
And we may be stuck with you either do that or you don't do it at all.
Right.
So that's not, I
not
don't
helpful.
like
Not
the way
helpful.
this has unfolded, and I don't like that it's the way it's unfolding now, because
Right.
a lot of these questions could have been answered months ago if we had a little feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been typical that, we're gonna be under the gun when we finally, get the information we need, and we don't have time to talk about it or do
Right.
anything. It'll be-
Right.
A question about the timeline. You mentioned a permissive referendum which could not occur before November. Unless you paid for it yourself.
Well,
How
yeah.
does it fit in with the contracts, if it's issued and the signing timeline?
We don't have a
We're
contract.
not there yet.
Yeah, don't have it. Let's, okay, all right, thank
Yep.
you, Greg.
At the
Yeah.
West Danby Water District meeting. That
Oh,
guy,
okay.
Scott, do you know him?
Yeah,
He was there and he said he could come to meetings and talk about especially,
yeah, that'd be great.
what happens if your thing goes bad, how much it was costing, how much they try to help you make sure it works.
Okay, great. Thanks, Pat.
He was very nice.
So the answer to your question, Ted, is, I don't know.
Wow,
We don't
I mean,
know.
if you got the contract in
Can we
August,
stop?
but you couldn't
Well-
continue until November, you'd be,
Well, we'll see
We
how it
kept
plays
your
out,
promise.
but,
Okay.
but it looks like where we are at this point is if we go with 12A, the map plan and report and the description of the district boundaries is going to be
Yeah,
for the next step. It's also clear that if we did what's in that recommended in that report, it's not feasible for the, as an expense for the properties that would be included in the delineated
right,
district. So there has to be more money in order to make it feasible even.
okay,
But it's a chicken and egg kind of thing, where you have to create the district, a map plan report, say what you want to do.
right,
And then that goes to referendum before we know whether we can get any more money to do it.
all right.
But that's the way it is. So,
That's the way it
what's critically important as far as getting people to entertain whether or not it's something they want to see happen is that, and it's just as important for West Danby it is for Danby, is to have some visioning going on. Saying,
Right.
well, suppose we put the sewer in, what would it get us?
Right, right.
And
Okay.
in the case of Central Danby, we have a nice project here with the Design Connect
Right,
thing for the Dobson property that would at least say, well, here's one of the things
One
that
pro-
could happen if you
Right.
had sewer. You could just imagine that happening more,
right,
We also have a couple of, I think both the derelict houses that are, technically ready, 3, there could be quote unquote, like condemned.
Mhm.
Those properties could have a duplex or a
Oh, yeah.
business or
Yeah.
something, all of which would be, could
Yeah.
be supported by having it.
right,
And
It is-
then,
Yeah, there's all kinds of potential. I mean,
right,
Yeah.
and ideas about how much it would cost,
Right.
some things that
yeah,
we came up with, some ideas for
Mhm.
how it could be funded within, that make it attractive.
Yeah.
Those are the things that, for a meeting, in order for something to happen, as you said, it has to be something that people
Yeah.
see, wow,
right. We need some figures, yeah,
Yeah,
right,
Okay, cool.
and even just, imagine this.
right.
Some visuals imagine something going back on the Benjamin's property.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Imagine
Yeah.
something being built next door. And there used to be a house there, and there's
Yeah.
the one next door that's falling down. There used to be 2 on this side
Yeah.
between us and the road.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that row barn is now, even more
Yeah,
of the
I
roof
know,
is gone. I
geez.
just saw it today. I'm like,
that barn
"Oh my
was so
God."
It
beautiful.
was really.
It's gone.
Really sad.
The whole front side of the top of the roof is now
It's
missing.
not gone, it's not irretrievable yet, but it's getting there.
Did you see it today? When I drove by, the front you know, if.
Yeah,
the
it's got the
looks like
swoop in the
this,
roof.
Yes, and this whole front section, which still roof is all, it's missing.
It fell off.
Well, it's not fallen off, but there's the shingles or whatever, there's just
separated.
gapping. whole
Yeah,
big.
yeah, no, it's really sad.
Ah. Oh, well.
We're kind of at 2 hours.
Yep. Well, that's what we did. Well, this was on the items for the next agenda.
Right.
Yeah, and Leslie asked about the,
And I'm
Where
sorry
are we?
that, I didn't recognize, I get out of sync when we put these things up and then we go
Okay.
back to them, so the CBDG grant is, we have talked about, it's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's exciting, that's.
Yeah, I don't remember talking about that, but I was probably here.
You may not have been.
which the multifamily one?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, you may not have been involved yet, because
Yeah.
that was,
Right.
you know,
Maybe for the next newsletter, maybe Pat Kern could write up a little thing about the voting at,
oh,
at
that's
West
a lot.
Danby, you
Mm.
know, what the outcome of that.
The what?
The super
Well,
site in West End.
that, the,
Well, we could too, for that matter, because it was,
huh?
we could too.
We could what?
Write something up for the.
I know, but it's,
Yeah, but
I mean, it'd be
if-
nice to have somebody from West
And
Danby, you
she's
know.
been involved and she's sent
Somebody,
the
you
email
know,
out, so
it might be
yeah.
nice
to
to
ask
ask
her.
somebody different to write
Yeah.
up something, and
Yeah.
she is the one that contacted
Yeah, she is.
Steve to get the
Yeah.
information, so, and it just might be nice to,
Yeah.
we could get her to
Let her
do
take a
that.
victory lap.
Huh?
Let her take a victory lap.
Yeah. The one that,
You're
Yeah.
talking about the voting district.
yeah,
Yeah,
just, you know, who can vote where, and
they both had plenty to say.
it's gonna be a super site,
Pat and.
Yes.
a super site for
Yeah.
voting.
Yeah,
Um. Okay, I probably.
and
should-
evidently Newfield as well.
Yeah, right, right. Or, and Newfield could vote there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's kind of cool.
yeah,
We'll see how long that goes.
yes, indeed.
Can I
So-
put a plug in for the, I'm sorry, this should have gone in probably way up somewhere, but I thought about it when we were talking about Julie doing the code enforcement stuff.
Mhm,
Um,
sure. Mhm.
Can we, do we have any say, or does Steve do any like inspection of the old school house? Does anybody like go in there? It's a business, right?
It's a school district.
It's a school district.
But they have different, they're reading partnerships in there. That's not really the school district.
They
But I
rent it.
mean, so do we inspect that building at all for
That's
occupancy?
a good question. I don't
The
know.
reason why I thought, I drove back in there the other day, and I've not been back there before, but there's like 20
Yeah.
trailers back there.
Yeah,
What's
that's
in
right.
those trailers?
Yeah, stuff, yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I think the town should know what's in the trailers. I don't, it's, maybe it's all just books, but,
Or,
I don't know. It's just kind of like, what's in those trailers?
mhm.
Um, I didn't try and open them or anything, so,
Yeah, all right. That's a question for the school district.
yeah, but I don't know. It's just a lot of junk back there. It's just using at least the
Right.
whole left side
Yes,
for,
and there have been
storage.
complaints about it. There's been
Yeah.
complaints about that.
yeah. I mean, the
Yeah.
people in the
neighbors.
neighborhood don't really like it, but
Yeah,
People
the
don't
trailers
know.
used to be out front and they were moved back
I don't
after
wanna talk about
feedback
this
from the
anymore.
neighborhood.
okay, so anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, if
So, I
we
mean,
could
that's a
add that
question
to the
that-
list of something to look into.
Yeah, we could, you
Yeah,
give Steve a call and ask him
Yeah.
whether they did something. I mean, businesses are supposed to be periodically inspected, but, a school district, I don't know.
they may own the building, but they've
They
got
do.
people in there that aren't necessarily,
They're not
School district.
necessarily doing school, well, they're not really using it as school.
right.
No.
So, I mean, I'm not sure what regulations are subject to.
I don't know who else is in there besides a reading partnership.
So we asked Steve to take a look over.
Leslie, I can ask, I'm hearing some
You've been
questions
in
here.
those trailers?
Well, yeah, we can figure out, it's, Daniel Bryan there, he's the assistant superintendent for operations. I've
Uh-huh.
talked to him at length before about that property.
Oh,
So I'm happy to make contact with him. Like the questions are, what's in the trailers? And between the question with Steve about other inspections, I doubt it, that they're really routine inspections of the school property.
huh.
Maybe the road back there isn't safe enough.
Well,
for fire
especially since
engines
it's
to
just
go
a
in.
school property, they're not using it as a school.
It-
It's storage.
Right, so I can ask about what's the trailers, just who's using the school right now.
Yeah.
When I talked to Dan a while ago, it was actually about Design Connect. I was trying to figure out which site we're gonna.
Oh, yes.
See,
right.
that would have been cool, yeah.
He was very much like, absolutely not, we don't want any development plan, the school has no intention whatsoever to redevelop the property. But that was his message then, and I think it was what I felt when there were major reverberations from the school budget process last year. That I
Oh, yeah.
think he was sort of staying on message with being kind of tight-lipped about the school property, but no, he was saying, no, what, like there are no plans whatsoever to offload this property or to redevelop it. It's just, we're just holding it. That's what the school's doing.
They
So
wouldn't even offload it to the town.
they would not want to sell it at a loss.
You're right.
They already did. Been there, done that, yeah.
Yeah, oh well,
Yeah, they sold it for $60,000 and bought it back for a
for a
million.
dollar or
Yeah.
something, yeah. Huh,
You wanna do that again?
okay.
Yeah. All right, so, that, the other items having been covered, the meeting is adjourned.
The end of these, but